Hi, everyone. Welcome to Morning After once again with Ron and Alexa. Cheers.
Cheers.
We're in a brand new bed this week.
We're back. They invited us back after the last segment.
So this time around, you've put a barrier between us.
And a bigger bed.
With this fine Chinese silk linen pillowcase from our friends at Peacock Alley. Shameless plug for our sponsor. Thank you, Peacock Alley.
Cheers. Well, I'll tell you what, they know how to make a beautiful bed.
Don't they?
Mm-hmm.
And we'll talk more about them, of course, coming up here during this podcast. But we want to talk about a couple of issues for parents out there that I think is interesting, and you and I have experienced this.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, to what degree do you allow your children to express themselves?
Yeah, and this is something that, you know, when we were in the news business, we often did news stories on where kids were potentially being suspended from school because of something that they were wearing. Or their hair. Yeah, right. And anyhow, that issue kind of came up in our household recently. One of my sons loves to express himself through his hair, which we think is fantastic. And, you know, we've done a lot of the fads, like the freestyle on the head designs. But recently, he discovered that you can get portrait art on your head. And so he wanted to do that for his birthday.
And we have a picture of it.
Yeah.
And who is it that this is somebody that he looks up to?
Yeah, so this is Sean the barber. And we discovered him through the lice lady. He's...
They're all connected. The lice lady talks to the barber.
So we had lice in the house, and we went to Lice Ladies. Fabulous place, by the way, the most affordable. We ran to Miss Maureen.
The only woman in University Park, by the way, to admit their kid has lice.
Boy, I'm telling you, it's rampant. So Miss Maureen's telling us about, you know, as she's doing the lice treatment on, you know, one of the kids, tells us about her cousin Sean, who does portrait art, and he got some kind of an award for best hairstylist in Dallas. That was it. So we called and we said, Miss Maureen referred us to you. And
so
he
you
said, come on
Garland.
over. Went to Garland, Touch of Jazz, awesome barbershop. And for 3 hours, my son sat in the chair, and you have to literally sit still. You let them know, this is the picture that I want. That was kept a big secret. It was Kevin Durant. Sean the barber practices a sketch at first on a piece of paper, and then as you see these pictures, he cuts his hair first, kind of shaves the head down a little bit, and then he starts slowly shaving the picture in.
Yeah, and the results are remarkable.
Incredible.
So this is outside of the school year. Are there codes at his school for what your hair needs to look like?
You know,
Typically, by the way,
of.
these hair rules are set by bald principals who are jealous of kids with hair.
You know, at our school, not that I'm aware of, we go to a public school, but I think that the big test is going to be when he becomes an altar boy this summer. And we'll see if they make, you know, when he's holding the candle walking down the aisle.
Kevin Durant comes
Do you know, someone asked me on Instagram, they go, is that Jesus? I said, no, it's Kevin Durant.
But as he heads off to Bible school, you can easily make that into Jesus.
Maybe then it would
do
be
a little
acceptable.
alteration.
Yeah, but you know what? We love the fact that he expresses himself this way. We encourage it, and you know.
But he was fine with one and done. A little play on our own segment here. But he was fine with one and done. He doesn't need to do it again.
No, I think once you realize that, you know, it takes 3 hours to do it, you literally have to sit still that entire time. You can't move, and he did a great job. But then it's like you have to sleep with your hair in a rag, and there's a lot of upkeep. So next time we're going to go back to Sean. We're going to say freestyle it and just, you know, do what you want.
The lesson in that, I think, for parents is once you get someplace and they want to do something, you let them do it. You make it an absolutely torturous experience, and they never ask you again.
Yeah.
They can put that to bed.
I think, though, when you're a parent and you make a big stink about something, well, we were kids once, right? It makes them want to do it even more. But, you know, in this case, if that's the way that he wants to express himself, then that's great.
Now, I seldom ever share this picture, but you know my 7th grade school picture. Right? You know that picture.
Oh, Ron.
That was me wanting to express myself. I thought
bless your heart.
that I could get Kirk Cameron's hairstyle from Growing Pains. So my mother, being who she is, much like you, said, okay, you need to grow it out longer to get a body wave.
Ogilvy, home perms.
From the, you know, the hair salon that was near the Air Force Base. They called it Air Force One. Anyway, so we go there, and let's just say the rollers were a little too tight. and they used a little too much perm solution. And so we tried to blow it out.
And those glasses.
And I wore glasses.
And those glasses.
Aviator tinters.
So what was the overall reaction when you went back?
Well, they called me Rhonda for the first. I set myself up. I don't realize it now. My mother didn't realize it then. I set myself up to be a spectacle, to draw attention to myself. That was not the intention. So you know what? I still say to my mother, really, you allowed that to happen? And she still pleads what you do, that I was just a mom allowing her child to express himself. But you got to be careful with it. And we'll leave you with the picture to prove it. We'll be right back.
I'll drink to that.
If you're wondering where we're broadcasting from today, we're at Peacock Alley in Dallas's Design District. Luxury linens for bed and bath, family owned and operated for 45 years. Made with the world's finest cotton, our linens are thoughtfully sourced and crafted. A heritage of giving back as well. Peacock Alley is the preferred linen source of Dwell with Dignity.
Welcome back. We're so excited today to welcome Kim Gatlin. I feel like this is like the start of some kind of a joke that starts with one.
Bob and Carol.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, cue the Charlie's Angels music, will you? Yeah, Kim Gatlin is an author, but I was saying to you, you're so much more than that. I feel like you're a culturist. The way that you talk about real life in the place where you grew up, and what was it like for you? Because Kim is the author of Good Christian Bitches, known as GCB on ABC when the series launched. What was the backlash like when that book first hit store shelves?
It was crazy because it was delayed, because the people that mattered to us and our friends and my friends I grew up with in the neighborhood and people that I cared what they thought it was funny and got a huge kick out of it and knew it was true. I mean, they all knew the people I was talking about, would all experience them. And then there were people like the 1 Million Moms who were trying to get it banned from TV and all that kind of stuff. I didn't know any of them, and there's like 50,000 of them anyway. And I was like, knock yourselves out. But anyway, and they tried to take credit for the show getting canceled. They had nothing to do with it. But it was really funny because the negative backlash came much later when the show premiered. And I mean, I hate to say this, but you have to kind of commend people on a plan well executed when they have a plan well executed. There were some people that were just dead set on causing some problems for us with a certain group of people. And, I was raising children and I was trying to have a career and do all this stuff. And I had other things to do besides just gossip all day. So.
But I remember seeing that. I remember seeing that backlash and thinking, well, this is only getting more people to talk about it and tune in.
Right. That's exactly right. It made them more interested. People that might have, overlooked it in the beginning and thought, well, that just doesn't sound like something that might appeal to me. When they saw the trouble it was causing, then they were really interested in it.
And I'm curious to know, when you were writing this was really sort of, I would think, a form of catharsis.
Oh, it was like throwing up in my own lap every day.
right. Sort of purging yourself. So when,
it really was. It was so
when something successful like this is born out of what really was kind of like a journey for you, in many ways it's like a form of therapy. What does that do then when there's all this chitter chatter and negative backlash to you in the first place, when it was meant to be something that was positive for you?
It's so cliche, but when people say, people throw bricks at you, take them and build an empire, I really felt like, people were throwing lemons at me, but I was getting a lemon orchard out of it, because the stuff that it did, I thought it'd get local attention, I never dreamed that it would get, picked up for a TV show by Darren Star of all people. And it was so funny because the stuff that ended up happening with it was stuff that, you have your goals and you think, okay, I'm hoping that this will happen and this will happen, or this is what I intend to happen. None of that stuff was even on my list,
The thing I think that's so interesting about what you did, though, is, you think it was only going to be local, but I think you're telling the story about a community that's not just here in Texas, but exists all across the nation. And you're speaking to experiences that I think a lot of women can relate to.
The other producer on the show, Aaron Kaplan, his mother, they're Jewish, and his mother watched the pilot before it aired. And she goes, well, that's just Miss So-and-so at the synagogue.
Right.
I was like, so we ended up telling people that really the Christian part, which some people did take offense to, and the mother and I have laughed about this, the people that were the most upset about the words Christian and bitches being in the same title were people that we knew hadn't darkened the door of a church except for to go to somebody's funeral, in 20 years. The people who like went to Bible study and went to church every week, I mean, they knew that person too.
Yeah,
they got it.
People
and
don't
knew
like
the point you were trying to make.
Exactly.
People don't like to be targeted though for if there's anything out there that people hate, it's to be called out as a hypocrite, right?
So
And there's so much hypocrisy. And I'm wondering when I read John Irving's book, A Widow for 1 Year, it's the story of an author and his life as an author and how writing stuff that's fiction but autobiographical in a way ended up for him alienating in the book a lot of his friends because they all started to read into, is she talking about me or is she talking about me? Then people actually arguing with each other over who someone is in a book, like they almost want to wear it like a badge of honor.
I kept saying when people would insist on trying to make this person, this character them, I was like, why would you want to be her? She's hideous, and you never crossed my mind when I was writing this book. So it's like but it really did drive home. We've all heard that everybody's the center of their own universe. Yeah. I mean, I really wish I would have had the foresight and just the hindsight now to have gotten somebody from like whoever the most prestigious psychology department on the planet is. It's like, come with me. You're going to be blown away by this.
Right.
Because it's a case study.
It really was on human behavior.
Thanks.
It really was. So, I learned a lot about myself from it. I learned a lot about other people from it. And I learned a lot about people I didn't even know. I mean, like I have 3 videos on like my old like desktop computer and I don't know how to get them on anything else, but
she's so tech savvy.
I'm so tech savvy. But I had people literally send me videos from hair salons, and these women would be holding court in this hair salon talking about how they were one of the characters in my book with somebody I'd never seen before in my life. I'd never even heard of this person.
Is that not crazy?
It was nuts.
I think that speaks to everyone is searching for relevancy.
You're right.
Whatever that form that takes.
Yeah, even if it's negative. So you've got the prequel and you've also got a sequel, but both of those are sort of on hold while Darren Star reboots GCB for the CW network.
Yes, in fall of 2020.
When you got word of that, how excited were you that you have a second chapter with this show that was so well received by so many people?
It was kind of, my son was home with me. I'll never forget. It was just real random afternoon phone call. And I literally hung up the phone. I looked at him and I went, did that just happen? Because I was like, it doesn't happen. It's not like we had this great run and, all the fans were demanding the return of it.
But Darren Star believed in it.
He did.
And he's a powerhouse.
Which was just crazy to me.
Yeah, it's going to be cast with different characters.
Younger
characters
CW.
Because of the CW, but nonetheless,
but
it's your story.
They'll involve like Kristen and Jennifer and Annie and some of the people who want to be involved.
Kristen Chenoweth.
Yeah. As like neighbors or bosses or moms or aunts or whatever, that can make the occasional appearance because the fan base we did have was so loyal,
Sure.
So
it's interesting to me too that you're first cousins to Angie Harmon.
I am.
And Sam Harris.
I am.
Sam Harris won Star Search. Was he the first winner of Star Search?
The very first one.
Wow.
An incredible vocalist. He's had a run as an actor on a network sitcom. And I've been here in Dallas when you've hosted him for various events. What insight did you have into how Hollywood works
It's
from them?
did
they map anything out for you?
I mean, yes and no, because being married to Rudy for as long as I was, I mean, there was so much about the entertainment business that I understood because it was like our dinner table conversation. But then there were so many things, to have had Sam being on Broadway for all those years, Angie being in TV for all those years, Rudy being in music for all those years. I didn't know anybody who wrote books, and then they didn't seem to either, and I was like, well, y'all are a big help, And then the people that I knew that were kind of on the fringe of that, every one of them, they did me a really big favor because they said, I hate to see you shop this because I'm afraid if you do, you're going to see your book, your title is someone else's book within
That's a risk, isn't it?
And lose control of it. So
that's why I self-published.
I'm really curious to know as you're sort of navigating this unknown, but you're also surrounded by, this community. How do you balance that with being a mom to 2 kids who are now young adults? But at the time, how do you're dealing with all the issues of being a mom and raising kids and all that presents.
Sometimes
how do
I
you
just had to
balance that?
shut it all out because I knew I had to focus on them, And, when you have women that, can't properly pronounce their stepchildren's names, because they're really not interested in family. They've got all the time in the world to work all those games. I was kind of like, I've got to be mom tonight. It was hard, but my kids were so cool. They really were. They were. I could tell they were like genuinely proud of me, and they got it. Because they saw. They got it. Yeah.
Even at that young age, they got it.
They really did. And my grandmother, gosh, I want to say she was like 88 when my book came out. And I didn't want to tell her that, the title. I wanted like my father's family to tell her, and they decided they were going to make me tell her. So when I did, she just busted out laughing, and she goes, "Well, we've all known a few of those, haven't we?" And I thought, what, she taught Sunday school till she was 90, so I thought as long as she gets it.
It didn't blind her from the truth, did it?
Not at all.
One more thing before we go, because you referenced Rudy. We're talking about Rudy Gatlin, who is your ex-husband, also one of the Gatlin brothers, an iconic country music group, still performing. And Rudy has become a friend of mine. He's really such a great soul.
He loves you.
Can I ask you, we've had this conversation before, but I'm curious for our audience. The both of you divorced, and yet you somehow forged a friendship, relationship that's about co-parenting, but it's really about more than that. And it's something you don't see very often.
You know what? We were so lucky because, and it's funny because like the book stemmed from when we decided to get a divorce. There was no blood on the sidewalk. I didn't want people thinking poorly of my children's father. He didn't want people thinking poorly of their mother. So we just didn't talk about it. It was heartbreaking and sad and all those things that divorce is. And rather than people leaving us alone and minding their own business, they would speculate about why we were getting a divorce. And that turned into gossip, and then the gossip turned into fact, and it just got nuttier and nuttier. And when it came to our children, thank God I had the kind of husband who was more concerned about our children than being mad at me, or making me miserable because of, whatever. And
so you're not going to tell us why you were divorced, because I was going to ask that.
I love Rudy's answer. He always says, that's between Kim and God.
That's a good answer.
It's a great answer.
There are some things that are no one's business, but I am going to ask you when the show's over.
Okay. And I'll tell you.
I actually already know.
I know.
But in any case, you really have been an example, I think, that that a lot of people should aspire to for the sake of the kids, rather than the kids becoming a pawn.
Yeah, that's right.
In a
You're
divorce.
sweet. I have
to
to attribute so much of that to him, though, because Mother will tell you that, he and I still, get crossed up about stuff, and we just don't do it in front of the children, and we don't involve them in it, and now that they're adults, it'd be easy to do at 28 and 22. Sure. See why I left your father?
Right.
But one's going into psychology so she can intervene.
And so she can, understand her wacky mom.
Well, we think you're wacky and wonderful, and you're going to stick around because we have a one and done coming up.
Okay.
A hot topic. All right.
We're back in a moment.
Need advice on an awkward or entertaining one and done? And it's okay to ask for a friend. Hit us up on social media at AM After Live.
Welcome back to One and Done now with Kim Gatlin, who's our guest today. So much fun. Okay, Kim, so we get these questions from our viewers, and they're usually a surprise to us. Today it's a surprise to you.
I love
Okay,
it.
so here we go. We're going deep on this one. Do I have to wear sexy pajamas with my boyfriend at the beginning of the relationship? I'm going to end up in a t-shirt and boxers anyway, so why should I fake it?
There seems to be a theme emerging here. Last week, the question was, should you drink your coffee before or after you brush your teeth and come back to bed and want to,
Snuggle.
cuddle with bad dragon breath, is how I put it. But okay, so what do you think in terms of presenting yourself on the beginning of a relationship?
Ew. I think that he'll always remember that. You know what I'm saying? When you look like a smoke show in your PJs, and on those days when you're having a really bad day in your football jersey, and you've got zit cream on your face and your hair's in a knot on top of your head. He's going to be like,
Member?
You know what?
Yeah, member?
Yeah. And, you want him to have that visual. I always worry. It's like, okay, how you get a mental picture of people? And I'm always so worried about, what if he remembers that day? Yeah.
Snapshot time. But don't we all play roles when we enter into a relationship? We're sort of on our best behavior and we're well presented.
Everybody does.
And then, of
I call it
course,
the campaign trail.
The campaign trail. And once the campaign is over,
Once the campaign's over, you're in trouble.
then you're in. Once you're in office,
Right.
That's also called false advertising.
Yeah,
it's a free for all. Wear the hell whatever you want. Sleep naked, really.
I don't know. I think it'd be nice. Wouldn't it be nice if we all kind of started as we mean to go? So I guess if you start one way, that's the way that you continue on.
You know what though? I love pretty jammies and stuff like that. I'm like, I'm in heaven here. You know, I mean, this is.
Isn't this
At Peacock Alley, by the way, thank you, our sponsors, for all of this.
It's so comfortable too.
It's divine, but I mean, I love pretty PJ sets and stuff like that. And it's so funny because I used to travel with a bunch of girls. And they'd come in my room and they'd go like, well, you know, were you excited to be on a trip with me? I'd be like, I mean, it's not like I was all dressed up in S&M or something. I just had on like a pretty jamming set, you know, and they're like, you know, but I mean, I love that
Like,
stuff,
what time is work?
Yeah. Exactly.
You were in Vegas at the time. So I'll be talking to Rudy about that first impression smoking PJ night.
Yeah.
We'll have that conversation.
He remembers those, I'm sure.
There it is, one and done. Did we answer your question, faithful viewer? We hope so.
Yeah, and feel free to send more. I mean, we'll take about any question.
Yes, we will.
I think we've shown.
We'll sleep on it, and we'll see you the morning after. Our thanks to Kim Gatlin. Thanks,
Thank
Kim.
you for having me. But I was gonna say, you can kind of skirt the folding part if you shove it in a pillowcase.
Huh? Oh, this is turning out.
No, my mother never taught me how to do that. Where's my Virginia when I need her? There. That's what my linen shells look like. Well, no offense, I don't think there's a
Actually, it really doesn't. It doesn't look any different.